Welcome back. It was the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche who once said, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." Well, while the events of September the 11th claimed the lives of thousands of innocent individuals, it failed to kill the spirit of the United States. In fact, as our own Joe Schlesinger argues this week, it's made the United States an even mightier superpower, one infused with new patriotism at home and a new feeling of invincibility abroad. Joe?
Remember, Ian, in the days immediately following September the 11th, there was this all but universal feeling that the world had changed, especially for Americans. That the feeling of invulnerability to outside danger that they had always taken for granted was gone. That the terrorists had found America's Achilles heel and undermined its power. Well, the world did change all right that day, but not always quite as expected. Take that fear of flying that gripped the world last fall. What fear of flying? If you were anywhere at a US or Canadian airport this past week, it was once again the usual March break madhouse. Confidence is coming back. In some respects, in fact, Americans are more upbeat than they were before.
Oh, say, can you see?
Especially about their country. Everything from New Year's Eve to the Super Bowl.
The President of the United States of America.
And the Olympics was turned into a celebration of America. September the 11th pulled Americans together. They're less cynical now about their government and its institutions. They're certainly much more supportive of their president. This isn't just a wartime rally around the flag reaction. Behind all the patriotic pride, there is a reality. As a country, the United States is standing taller. In the last 6 months, Washington has pulled off a series of stunning military and diplomatic feats. In Afghanistan, the US did what Britain and Russia in a century of trying were never able to do. The Americans conquered the country and did it with fewer casualties than in many a car pileup on a freeway back home. It isn't just Afghanistan either. The US has troops in Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Georgia, right smack in Russia's own backyard. And wonder of wonders, Moscow puts up with it without even a meek "niet." Before September the 11th, that would have been unthinkable. And it isn't all. More US troops are being dispatched to the far corners of the earth. And with that spread of military might, an equally intensive diplomatic campaign. Between them, America's soldiers and diplomats have changed the geopolitical map of the world. Old adversaries have become new allies. As for old allies, well, let's say they've frequently been getting a busy signal from Washington.
Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
That stark choice brought a stampede of support, often from unexpected sources. Even old foes such as the mullah rulers of Iran swallowed their hate of the great American Satan and offered to help. Nowhere, though, was the turnaround greater than in Pakistan. The regime of General Pervez Musharraf went from being an international outcast as a dictatorship, godfather of the Taliban, and a rogue nuclear power to close ally, showered with forgiveness, arms, and money. As for Washington's traditional allies in NATO and elsewhere, they were welcome to join, but under new rules. Previous wars, from the D-Day landings in Normandy to Kosovo, were run by consultation among the allies. Not this one. The Americans made it clear that this was their show and their show alone. No dickering with quibbling allies to slow them down. If allies such as Canada wanted to help, fine and well. Their support was welcome. But it would be Americans who chose the place, the mission, set the rules, and gave the orders. Many Canadians and most of Europe bristle at Washington's new assertiveness and its itch to widen the war to Iraq and beyond. To some, it signals that the United States no longer wants allies, just compliant satellites.
I've set a clear policy.
Much of that go-it-alone spirit stems, of course, from George Bush. He was a unilateralist well before September the 11th. Just think of his rejection of the Kyoto Protocol and the ABM Treaty. But what happened at the World Trade Center and at the Pentagon seems to have converted much of the country to his unilateralist view. 6 months later, the grief is still there, and so is the anger. As the Israelis and Palestinians know all too well, this is a combination that brings on an irresistible urge for retribution, for hitting out. But the Americans are not Palestinians or Israelis helplessly trapped in a dance of violence. They are a superpower. More than a superpower, in fact. The US can bring to bear a lot more to this war than just its overwhelming military might. It is, after all, also the world's greatest economic and technological power, a bastion of freedom and reservoir of idealism. As such, it is the world's mega power. There is not only no other country, but not even any possible combination of countries that can rival the power of the United States. In the end, America's struggle against terrorism is also a struggle with itself, a struggle against the temptation to use all that power just to soothe its anger and heal its wounds. The rest of the world may sympathize or criticize. It may help or hinder. But ultimately, it will be up to Americans themselves to decide the kind of legacy of the great tragedy of September the 11th they want to leave behind, to do them, their history, and the ideals of their country proud.
Thanks, Joe.